Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm just going to let everyone come into the broadcast in the next couple of minutes. So please say hi in the comments, just so I know who's there. Hi, Susan. Thanks for joining. This one's going to be a more relaxed broadcast, I think. Not as much slides and stuff to go through. Mr. Miapus, thanks for joining us again. You're a regular. Hi, Meryl. Hey, Mrs. Matthews. Hello to you. So this, you have to excuse my voice. Still a little bit recovering from cold and flu. And I have no idea what's up with my camera, but it doesn't want to zoom in, and it seems to be switched to autofocus. So if I go a bit blurry, that's my camera. Okay, I think we'll jump to it, I reckon. Okay, so hello and welcome to the WP Quickies series. So bite-sized WordPress tips and tricks in 30 minutes or less. Today, I'm going over what I'm calling Desert Island plugins. These are my favorite plugins I really can't do without. This has been highly requested. I had about 10, 15 requests just to ask, what plugins do you normally use on a WordPress build? So I'm going to cover that today, just really quickly, nice and informal. You guys can let me know in the comments below what you think about these plugins, and if you guys have got any favorite plugins as well, and we'll maybe zoom through some of the comments afterwards. Just a few shout outs. Maurice, hello to you. Paul, thanks for joining us. Oh, you like the title? Yep. It's taken from the Desert Island. Is it Desert Island Discs? Used to be a radio show on BBC Radio back in the UK, and they'd play it on Sunday, and they'd ask somebody, what's your favorite all-time record discs that you couldn't do without on a desert island? And they'd play 3 or 4 of those. So that's where the title was inspired from. Okay, let's jump into it today. And I'll make the slides a little bit bigger. There you go, less of me. Okay, before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ding the bell, and that'll just let you get some notifications when we next go online. Okay, my first lot of plugins are basically security. If you were with me last week, you'd have known I covered a bit about WordPress security plugins, particularly WordFence and Security. So I'm not going to go over those again today. Just suffice to say that WordFence I like to have installed because it does local scanning of files, and I get a bit paranoid sometimes, especially with big WordPress installations. So it's good to have. I feel it's good to have something that scans all the files on my server. But there are situations where that can really bog down the server. So if it's a high load server all the time, then I want something nice and light to perform security. And so if I don't want to go with WordFence, I will then use Security as a backup. It's not as thorough, so it doesn't scan all the files on your server. It just scans all the URLs on your site. But it does have like a CDN and network security detection level, so it can actually preempt some security issues actually getting to your server in the first place, which I think is great. Now, if you're running like a WordPress hosted managed service like WP Engine or Kinsta or one of these types of companies, Maybe you don't need to have a security plugin because they do a lot of hardware stuff for security. But I'd really recommend, at the very least, installing a little plugin called Limit Login Attempts Reloaded. And that's a little icon you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, the little padlock with the safe dial on it there as well. Here's a link to the plugin homepage right down there. And what it really does, it just looks for people trying to automatically log in as admin or other users and trying to brute force the password. And it just records the IP address and it bans them for however long you want to set in the settings. So even although like the big security companies will have some sort of mitigation against brute force attacks, this little plugin as well just gives you a little bit more local granular control, and you can really see who's been trying to log in and what types of usernames they're trying to target. So I think that's quite useful as well to have. So definitely my top tips, top plugins to install for a new WordPress website would be security first. It'd be one of these ones, depending on the configuration I want to go with my setup. Some more highs. Gulia. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Yes, feeling a little bit better. Still a bit blocked up, but thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you as well for the highs. Okay, next. Gravity Forms. I just love Gravity Forms. I've been an early adopter of Gravity Forms. I did, of course, when I started out my journey with WordPress back in 2008, I think it was. I came across Contact Form 7. I think a lot of people probably use that as their contact form, first of all, because it is free. And then there's a little add-on you can have that stores all the data in the database as well, so you can review the stuff. So I used that for a while, but it just doesn't do the sort of things that Gravity Forms does. Gravity Forms for me is like an all-in-one package. It's not just forms. So I've put in the header here, email capture and payments. So for a long time, I used Gravity Forms to actually sell stuff, sell my services. So there's a Stripe add-on and a products add-on. It just allows you to add simple products in. So if you want to sell a couple of services, a couple of really simple products, you can add them in Gravity Forms as a product with a price. It handles tax as well. You can use PayPal if you like. I just like Stripe for, I think it's a lot better than PayPal. So if you have those two add-ons, then you've basically got an e-commerce site running just using Gravity Forms. It's probably a little bit costly for the end blogging user that's maybe not getting some income coming in. So it's $199 for a developer's license that gives you all the add-ons. But I think if you're selling stuff, you're going to make that really, really quickly back. So I think it's like a no-brainer to have. And of course, email capture. If you're serious about having a website, you really need to start capturing emails from like day one. And the best way to do that, I think, is in Gravity Forms. And it has add-ons to all the major email systems like MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, Aweber, and all those sort of places, Campaign Monitor, Drip. You can get add-ons for those, and they just seamlessly integrate into that. You can also get a Zapier add-on. So, if you're capturing anything via any form, then, you can send that out to Zapier and add that to any other system, which is fantastic. I love the drag and drop for Gravity Forms, drag and drop interface. It's getting a new skin. So version 2.5 of Gravity Forms is in beta just now. So check that out on your development sites just to have a look. It's a really nice interface on the back. It looks really cool. But I think one of the best things about Gravity Forms as well is the conditional formatting. So you can display fields and sections just based on other inputs that people have added into the form. So Gravity Forms, definitely my forms of choice, because it just does everything from capturing form data and so much more. So definitely my my favorite form one there. What's next? Advanced custom fields. I think did I do one on advanced custom fields? It might be scheduled as one to come up in advanced custom fields. What advanced custom? I've got advanced custom forms. Oh dear, that's bad. Advanced custom fields, I'll fix that. So what it does is it allows you to extend WordPress in the amount of data it captures in the editor window. So, if you want to create information, get information from the user to maybe customize colors or allow for file uploads, you can have repeater fields as well, which I think is great for, just for example, if you want to allow people to have social media links. You just add a repeater field that allows them to click a plus on the admin interface and allows them to create a field, another plus, another field, and you can just add things like that. It's got so many different types of fields that you can add. There's a Google Maps field, there's a date, time, image upload fields. There's just so much stuff in there that you can really customize your editor screen for different types of users that are logging in. And it's probably really good for if you want to do bespoke websites. So you've got a really niche website that you need to capture information from people, that can be really good. You can also use it as well for membership sites. If you've got members with different levels and different skill sets, you can get information from them and just use a custom field block to get that particular information. And all those different types of fields are there available to you. Now, the Advanced Custom Forms is a paid plugin, again, and it really depends on whether you think you're going to get return of investment back for that. But I think it does so much to the interface. You can add so many different types of fields that can really enhance the editor and customer experience of people when they're logging into your website and capturing information from that. So definitely one of my favorite plugins is Advanced Custom Fields. Not forms, dear. Okay, my next one of the plugins I really can't do without, and there's debates whether this should be in the WordPress core or not, and it's Duplicate Post. And this plugin has been around for years and years. And what it allows you to do is if you're creating a lot of posts that are very, very similar, you install this plugin and you get a little link in the editor, the admin view. This allows you to duplicate the post. That's what it says on the tin. But it saves so much time. Especially if you're doing really complex type pages or complex type posts, and you just not got the time to sit and copy between them all. It's just a single link. You click on it and it duplicates that entire post. So this little plugin here, it's free, totally free. And it saved me many, many hours of copy and paste and doing that. So yeah, I don't think I have any website that's not got that on it at some point. So yeah, Duplicate Post, definitely one of my favorite free plugins. Let's see, so we'll go through a few comments here while we go. Mrs. Matthews is saying limit login attempt, installed it last week and it works well. Yeah, it's a really, really good little plugin. Clario ACF Pro is awesome. Yeah, it also allows you to build Gutenberg blocks just with PHP pretty easily, and it's also very cheap for what it is. It is very cheap. Now, a lot of people when they start off, they obviously try and use free plugins, which of course you should. And there's a little bit of hesitation about buying a plugin, and that's quite right. But I think some of these plugins here, like Gravity Forms and Advanced Custom Fields Pro, like the paid version, they offer so much stuff. If you look at what they can offer, and if you can really start using all that stuff to your advantage, just the price that they put on these is just silly. It's so cheap compared with the return of investment you're getting back with all these goodies. So please, when you're thinking about buying a plugin, just have a look at what they offer and just think about how you can make a return of investment back from that. Paul, does it duplicate pages? It does. It duplicates any post type. So in the settings, if I remember rightly, if you go to duplicate post settings, by default, I think it has posts set. But you can also, it'll highlight any actual posts that your website has. So you can just check all the way down. And if you save those, then when you go into that admin view, then you'll see a little duplicate link. So yeah, it doesn't just do post. It does all types of post types. Elizabeth, hard to believe WordPress hasn't made duplicate ports a standard feature. Yes, yeah, I agree. I think it should be in core. It's such a necessary thing. Yep, another +1 for duplicate post. Yep, great little plugin, super. Okay, next one is Beaver Builder. So there's kind of two page builders that are fighting it out, battling it out just now. You got Elementor and Beaver Builder. I like Beaver Builder. I think that it's a little bit more simple to use, the interface. I also like it because it's a little bit more lightweight. I feel that Elementor, although it's got a whole lot of stuff in there, I think it's probably got too much stuff. Like it does animations and transitions and block ups. And, you know, I think that'd be great for an add-on. But as a core feature, I think they're probably adding a little bit too much, and it slowed it a bit down, I think. Oh, excuse me. So Beaver Builder. Yeah, so I used to be a Genesis developer and Genesis framework. I used Genesis for maybe about 5 years. And it served me well. Genesis, for those that don't know, it's like a framework you can build themes to. So you got like a core bunch of templates and frameworks underneath, and you basically use a lot of code. And it's very developer focused. Use a lot of code to override and enhance on the built-in framework. And of course, Genesis Studio Press, they keep that framework up to date with all the current goodies. So yeah, so I used to build with Genesis for quite a while. It is a manual process, so you are creating PHP page templates and a lot of code and overriding stuff. So although I had a whole bunch of templates from previous development, it still would take a lot of time to get up to speed on new developments. So Beaver Builder, I kind of started using Beaver Builder probably quite late, probably like last year, maybe end of last year. And I absolutely just love it now. I think the amount of stuff that you can create with the page builders and the amount of time that you can save, I think just pays for maybe that little bit of performance you could get by coding the themes directly in PHP. So I mean, I can bang out a site in a good 3 or 4 days, like a real professional site using Beaver Builder with all the fancy layouts and stuff. That would probably take me 3 or 4 weeks to do in Genesis, doing it by hand-coded PHP templates. So yeah, I think page builders are definitely the way to go, but a little bit of caution as well, because they are throwing so much stuff into the page builders, especially like Elementor. You just need to be careful that it's not dragging your site down too much. I mean, don't go using a page builder if you're only going to be using 3 or 4 of the modules. Try and stick to a nice lean theme. And maybe Gutenberg, and using the Gutenberg blocks to replicate that rather than use a theme builder. I have a question from Laura. Excuse me. What do you think of Oxygen? Okay, they said they're lightest among the page builders available on the market. Yep. So the CEO, the guy in charge of Oxygen, he approached me a year and a half ago, I think, and gave me a couple of free licenses for Oxygen just to go and evaluate it and have a look. And it's not bad. I wasn't a particular fan of the interface, and I found it a little bit buggy, but that was a year and a half ago. So they've probably made some updates since then. Hand up, I haven't tried it in over a year since I initially had a look at it. But I think back then it wasn't up to the same standard as Elementor and Beaver Builder. In fact, I think mostly it was Beaver Builder I was judging against, because Elementor was like brand new onto the scene back then. But yeah, the community is growing for Oxygen, and they've got some good developers behind it. But I think it's just maybe lagging a bit behind what Beaver Builder and Elementor can do from like a core product view. But I should probably evaluate it again at some point. But yeah, thanks for that question, Eugene. Oh, Laura, sorry. Okay, my next one. Let's see, I do have a link here. Copy this into the comments. My next one is Easy Digital Downloads. Now, that might surprise a few people, and I have mentioned this at Meetup a few times. Easy Digital Downloads, the basic plugin is free, and it works with PayPal. So if you're a PayPal user, then you can use that combo for free. However, I'm a Stripe person. I like the Stripe backend. I like the security it gives you, the control. So I always use it with the Stripe plugin, which does cost a fair bit. And you're talking like hundreds of dollars. So it's maybe something you wouldn't maybe use until you've got like a good number of products or services to sell. And if you haven't heard of Easy Digital Downloads, what it basically does is it allows you to it's basically an e-commerce platform, and it allows you to sell digital downloads, PDFs, images, and stuff right out of the box. But there's heaps of add-ons you can get for it. There's one called Easy Digital Downloads as a Service. So it gets rid of all the product type of things like SKUs and weight, dimensions, all that sort of stuff. And it allows you to sell services. So if you're doing a graphic design, if you're a copywriter, you can use Easy Digital Downloads for free, the PayPal for free, get the Easy Digital Downloads as a service. That's a free add-on as well. And there you've basically got an e-commerce solution. And the reason I like Easy Digital Downloads is the back end is really, really nice. So you get you can see all the customers, you can see all your products, all your purchases, like income, revenue. So it's got all the graphs and stuff like that. And there's lots of add-ons you can get as well to make the customer experience really good. For example, there's an add-on called PDF downloads, PDF invoices. So you can set up a real professional system whereby, somebody buys something, it sends you off a PDF invoice, just like the big shops and the big sites do. But I especially like the Zapier add-on, because I think with if a plugin allows us Zapier integration, I think you can really do pretty much anything. So when I'm looking for paid and big plugins that I want to drive functionality from a website, I always look to see if they've got a Zapier add-on, because that just opens up what you can do by so much. So for example, in one of my sites, I sell a couple of checklists and things like that. So they purchase them through Stripe, and then I use Zapier to put that into my campaign monitor. It was Active Campaign, I think I use. And that adds them onto particular lists, and then adds them onto email workflows. All within Zapier. So Easy Digital Downloads, definitely my kind of choice for e-commerce over WooCommerce. So I think if you've got lots and lots of products that you sell, like physical products, WooCommerce is probably still a pretty good choice. But if you've got like a mix of things, if you've got a mix of service type, digital downloads, and products as well, my go-to would be Easy Digital Downloads for that. That's just another question there. Elizabeth, how about Avada's Fusion Builder? What do you think of it? There you go. That's my thoughts. Not as good as the others. Okay, here is another one. I probably should have put this with security, actually. I probably got this a little bit out of order. It was late last night when I was putting them together. So Google Authenticator. So I guess bundled in with security. This is on all my websites, all my client websites. I've persuaded all my clients to go down the 2FA route as well. If you don't know what 2FA is, it's basically having something else like your mobile phone. You have an app on that, and it generates a code, and that's the little graphic on the right-hand side there. And then when you come to log into your website, it's got obviously your username and password, but underneath that, it's got the code. So the whole idea behind 2FA is that even if someone has guessed your username and guessed your password, unless they have your actual phone or token or whatever you're using, then they still can't get into your website. So I would definitely recommend everyone to start using 2FA. It's really, really good. And I mean, if your phone dies, then you can get back. You can generate backup codes and store them securely, and use it like a one-time code. So you can get back in, or of course, just disable the plugin using the file manager and cPanel. And so you do that. So definitely have a look at this 2FA. The link there, it's a free plugin, and the Google Authenticator app is free as well. Joey, you like EDD? Yep, +1 for EDD there. Sorry, the comments are a little bit delayed, so sorry about that. My next one is Yoast. I mean, almost everyone knows about Yoast. It was probably one of the first SEO plugins, definitely one of the, I think it is the biggest plugin download in the plugin repository. So it basically handles all site SEO. So all your meta descriptions, your meta titles, all your redirects as well, if you need to redirect to, if you're moving stuff around in your site, sitemaps, page links, breadcrumbs, your social links as well. So if you're trying to post your website to, so your post to Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, there's little social icons in there that you can specify like different pictures and different titles and descriptions, and just so that it makes sure they look nice on the different social networks when you're sharing it. It also comes with Facebook OG Open Graph as well, just to make sure that Facebook is grabbing all the right data from your posts. So really, really handy. The main web plugin is free. And then if you want to purchase the pro one, then you get extra stuff like schema links and page analysis and things like that. So Yoast, I like Yoast. A lot of people got a bit miffed off with them. They went a bit crazy with the color scheme, maybe about a year and a half, a couple of years ago. And then I think just at the beginning of this year, they basically forced a big marketing banner on the top of the entire websites that ran Yoast, which didn't get them very many favors. But they did do a big sorry for that. But from functionality-wise, it does a lot of things, and a lot of things for free. There is an alternative one out there called SEO Press. I'll put it there. I don't have the link for there, but I think it's just seopress.com. My colleague, James Cardamy, one of the other organizers for the WordPress meetup, he swears by that one. And it is a lot cheaper than the pro version of Yoast. So it's only about $40 a year, and it gives you pretty much everything that the Yoast Pro or Premium gives as well. So I've not used it, the SEO Press, but yeah, James, my colleague, he swears by it. So it's heaps better than Yoast. Let's see. Question here. Daniel, have you tried SEO Framework compared to Yoast? I see a lot of performance complaints about Yoast. Yeah, Yoast is a bit up and down. It's got a couple of back-end features. Every now and again, it'll ask you to do like a performance sweep. And it basically looks through all your posts and it's trying to bring in related content. So when you're creating a post, if you've got Yoast, I think Yoast Premium, I don't think the free version does it. But if you're creating a post, it'll suggest adding existing posts that you have in your WordPress, like kind of related posts. So you can add in to build your internal link structure. And the only way it can do that is by obviously analyzing your posts. So it does that in the background. And if you've got thousands of posts, then yeah, it can take a pretty significant performance hit on that. So I've not tried SEO Framework, Daniel, so it'd be good to hear if you've got any thoughts about that. Maurice, rank match, or is it rank math? I can't, it's one of them. Yes, had a lot of that. It's certainly up there. I've not used it, so I can't really comment on what it's like. But certainly there are alternatives for Yoast, and as I said, they did annoy the community quite a bit over the last couple of years with just colors and advertising banners and things. So yeah, definitely alternatives out there. Yeah, it's rank math. Yeah, I thought it was rank math. Yeah. Okay, so Susan has moved over to rank math, and she says it's better than Yoast. So yeah, I should definitely take some time out and have a look at that. Yeah, and Joe, well, there you go, Joe. Susan beat you to it. She says that she finds it better than Yoast. So awesome. Let's move on. So I'm speaking a bit slowly today. Okay, this is a blatant plug because this is my plugin. This one's called Stop Spam on. Sorry, Stop Media Comment Spamming is the official title. What it does. Quite early on, I was finding that I had a few of my websites, I was getting lots and lots of spam comments, and I'd go to the page, the posts, and there'd be no comments on the post. I'd be like, where are all these comments coming from? So after a bit of digging, I found that every time you add an attachment, so in the media library, every time you're loading an image or a PDF or other kind of document to there, it creates that that attachment as a post. Everything's a post in WordPress. So it's a post of type attachment, and it creates a page for each of these attachments. And by default, those pages have comments. So every time you're adding a picture or something to the media library, you're creating a post with a comment field. So people were finding those particular posts, and they're just adding all that spam comment within the attachment post. So this little plugin here, it's just a few lines of code. All it does is it has a look for the attachment type, and it stops all the commenting on those particular post types. So that means that every time you now upload an image, there's no comment fields for that. People can't spam that on your website. So yeah, it is my plugin, but I've got it on all my sites and my client sites as well. Okay. Last one, I think this is the last one, is backups. Again, kind of under security, but I guess a little bit distinct as well. So I used to use WordPress for years and years as backup. And I really like it, and I still like WordPress. I think it's great. It does daily backups or real-time backups. So if you've got an e-commerce site, then you can have real-time backups, which I think is fantastic. However, as of last year, they have moved WordPress away from just a single backup solution into Jetpack. I mean, everything's moving into Jetpack. WordPress will be in Jetpack soon as a module, I think. Sorry about that. A little bit of a whinge. But yeah, so now instead of just going to WordPress and buying a serial key, uploading the plugin, entering the key, and that's your backups done, now you've got to install Jetpack. And you can't just install Jetpack. You've got to get like a Jetpack pack, which comes with a Kismet or security or all this extra stuff. So basically, you can't just buy backups, and you can't just use WordPress as a backup. So I was a bit annoyed about that because I liked WordPress. It did exactly what I wanted to do. It did backups. But now, as I say, it's all moved into Jetpack. I'm not a big fan of Jetpack. I think it's complete bloat. There's so much stuff in there that you would never ever need to use, and yeah, I think it's not an abomination to be honest. A bit strong, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Jetpack at all. I think you should have one plugin that does one thing and do that one thing really, really well. So rant over. Sorry about that. So my backup choice just now is Updraft Plus. And so I really, really like Updraft. The basic version, a free version, will allow you to back up your backups to FTP or Amazon or Drive or Dropbox or something like that. So you can definitely use it for free. But I really like the Pro version because the Pro version does incremental backups. And if you don't know what incremental backups are, it means that rather than take the whole file and transfer that to the backup site, it has a look for changes. And if a file has changed, then it'll back it up. If it's not changed, it just leaves it be. And that really reduces the amount of time backups take. I think that's fantastic. The Pro version as well has lots of bells and whistles, and they also offer 1 GB of their online storage. So if you don't want to store things on your own accounts, you can certainly get that within the price. And it's pretty cheap. I think it's about $80 for the initial license, and then half that's about $40 per year to renew. And I think the basic package has a 2-site license in there. So really good value for money. I've been using it for about a year now on all my sites, my customer sites as well. And yeah, really good. Never had a problem with restoring either. Yeah, it just seems to work, and it's pretty low performance as well for the Pro version, certainly. So I think that's the last one. Let me just jump in a couple of comments. Joey. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm a bit blocked up. How many plugins are too many, do you think? I use about 16. You can't reduce them any further, as these are all must-haves to me. Yeah, so I get this question an awful lot at the meetup. So when we're talking about plugins, how many plugins are too many plugins? And there's no real easy way to answer that. It really depends on what the plugins do, like their size and their functionality. For example, my little plugin, the Stop Media Spam there, it literally is only like 10 lines of PHP code. So if you had 100 plugins like that, it's not going to have any significant impact on your website. However, if you have my little plugin plus WooCommerce, then suddenly your performance is going to go down because WooCommerce does a lot of things. If you add WooCommerce and Jetpack and Yoast in, then yeah, you're going to see your website resources go down because they're doing so much stuff in the back. So really the question is not how many plugins are too many, but what complexity of the plugins that you have installed do you need? So for example, if you have Jetpack installed, but you're only using Jetpack for backups, then you don't need all security, you don't need the CDN, you don't need the spam control, you don't need galleries, you don't need full screen galleries, you don't need all the other stuff that comes with Jetpack if you're just using it for backups. So really, I guess what I'm trying to say is have a look at your plugins, have a look at what they do. So have a look at all the features they offer and how much stuff do you use out of that plugin. If you're maybe only using 10, 20, even 30% of that plugin, then maybe it's a good time to reevaluate some other plugins that just do that one particular thing. So you can maybe get 3 lightweight plugins that only do simple stuff and get rid of this big plugin to get a little bit more performance. So I hope that answered your question, Joey. Lower, what plugin do you recommend for image optimizer? None. I would recommend you do image optimization on your local PC before it hits WordPress. There's heaps of tools out there for Mac and Windows as well. There's one called PNG Gauntlet. There's a JPG Optimizer. There's Smush tools that you can download as binaries and apps onto your local machine. But yeah, definitely don't do processing of images on WordPress. It just takes time. It's just a bit lazy, really. So when you're preparing your image files, resize them, get rid of all the quality and optimize them on your local machine, and then drag them up into your media library. And you'll save your site a lot of time and resources. Okay, next week, that's all the questions, by the way. All right, next week, hopefully I'll be a little bit better and be able to speak properly. Next week, we're going to be doing fix WordPress emails. So this one's been a suggested one that's come in from a couple of users. There's quite a few times where you just don't receive emails from WordPress or you don't know what's happening with it. So we're going to look into how to fix that. And in particular, there's a plugin, I think it's called WP SMTP or SMTP WP, but we'll look into that, get that set up, have a look at all the settings, see what it does. And let's offload PHP mail from the server and get it actually routing through proper email services. So if that's something that interests you for next week, then you can join in for that. If you have any other suggestions as well, there's a link to a Google form here, a QR code, and it's also in the description down below in the video. Please hit me up with some suggestions for more WP Quickies, so I can just schedule those up in the next coming weeks, and that'd be great. Let's have a look at some other comments. Mrs. Matthews, oh, you like the backup and security? Yeah, cool. Galia, for backups, we usually suggest going through the hosting service or still use additional plugins. That's a great question. It really depends on your host, I guess. If you are using a WordPress managed solution like WP Engine or Pagely or Kinsta, then I know that they do offer backups as part of their kind of overall package. I would think for most other hostings like SiteGround that don't deal just specifically with WordPress, you're kind of getting into maybe they're going to back up not just your site, but your kind of cPanel profile thing as well. And then they're probably going to charge you a heap of money to restore that as well. So I guess it really is up to you. Have a look at your host, see what types of backups they do. Is it just the files? Is it just the WordPress? Is it your kind of cPanel account? Ask them how much they charge for restore and how quickly they keep the backups for, because retention is key for backups. You know, if they're only keeping a 14-day backup retention and you need a backups going back for like 3 or 4 weeks because you haven't noticed you've been hacked since then you know, they might not have that, and it would be time to break out a service, an additional plugin for that. So I do like the idea of having backup control myself away from the hosting provider. So my preference would be for additional plugin rather than the host. Yeah, great question. Joey says, if no file is appearing in Pingdom Tools results page, then plugin isn't affecting the loading time on the front end, correct? Not necessarily. I understand where you're coming from. So you're thinking about loading files from plugin, like external files like CSS and JavaScript. That's true in one sense. However, when plugins load, they load on a WordPress hook called init or admin init for init and plugins loaded, and they can do a lot of processing just on that kind of initial going through. They can like check database tables, they can check log files, they can do lookups on the database. So while they might not be loading in external files like CSS or JavaScript, plugins can still do a lot of processing on like a page refresh. And it might not be anything to do with that page. It just might be that that's the way the developer has created it, just to make sure the plugin has all the information that it needs to perform its task. So yeah, that time where you get the very first time to byte in Pingdom, when you get that kind of long bit, that's WordPress initializing itself. It's running through the WordPress water flow. So it's starting up things, it's starting up all the plugins, it's initializing all the plugins, it's then looking at the theme. So it's going through all that process before it then starts to render out the page. No, would be my answer, Joey. Laura, thanks. Alan, yeah, I think I answered that, Alan, from the other persons there. So when you back up cPanel, you're backing up everything, and accounts, mail, DNS, all that sort of stuff. So I think just having files backed up with WordPress is much better than just cPanel backups. You're welcome, Susan. You're welcome, Meryl. That's my details on there. Peter, thanks for joining, guys. Okay, great. Okay, that's it. Went over a little bit. Thanks very much for joining, and we will see you guys next week. I'll end the broadcast. Okay, bye.